All right. Hey, everybody. As the title of the stream suggests, I'm going to be doing the Redraw Sailor Moon meme today. So, a couple people I know kind of locally to me kind of posted it on Instagram today. So, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it live. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Redraw Sailor Moon meme, basically it's this one very specific like screen capture that literally dozens or hundreds or thousands of artists have drawn. So I'm gonna kind of show you that, and I'm just gonna kind of it's this little guy down here. If you just look up, hashtag Redraw Sailor Moon or just Redraw Sailor Moon, it'll be like the first image that comes up on Google. Super easy to find. If you want a higher quality or not a higher quality, but like a larger version. But I'm just going to kind of put it there so we have some idea of what we're doing for people who are not familiar. So to start off, I'm just going to get a really smooth round brush. Excuse me. And it looks like the background is mostly like kind of light blue. So I'm just going to go ahead and tint our background with that light blue color. And then get started on my sketch layer here. So pretty standard stuff. We're going to start with kind of a neutral gray, pretty light, but set to multiply. And kind of sketch things out. I'll actually have to look at a bigger version of the... Okay. So, the size of our canvas is not exactly the same dimensions as the meme image I found. So we're going to have to be a little bit creative with our editing just to get it to kind of fit. So get the little kind of sailor flap there. So I have kind of, I guess, an admission to make, and that's that I haven't actually watched a lot of Sailor Moon. Like, I'm vaguely familiar with the brand through cultural osmosis, but I haven't seen a lot of episodes. I've probably seen a few at some point, because I'm like right at the age group that like grew up watching like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z. But I don't think I got any of the channels that have those when I was a kid, so I guess I never really got a chance to kind of grow up watching them. So I do a lot of like starting sentences and then focusing on drawing briefly and then forgetting what my sentence was. Alright. And she has like big floofy bangs, and then she has her little balls. So again, I'm just kind of trying to block things out. I don't really do a lot of super tight line art, which I often mention. So Get started there. All right. And that looks pretty good. I think that's a fair enough starting place. And I'm actually going to be a little bit lazy with this, and I'm just going to do it all kind of on one layer. So I'm just going to be painting directly onto the background under my sketch layer. And then I'll probably at some point collapse the sketch layer down and just kind of paint on top of everything. Alright. So we need a skin tone, and she is fairly, I want to say just a standard light pink. So I'm just going to throw down that base color literally everywhere. So the great thing about painting on one layer is we're going to fill in any gaps later. Okay, and then that blonde hair, which I think that's pretty close. We're going to go with a little bit of a darker color for the blonde, just so we have some room to go to add highlights later. So again, not being super precious, just getting things blocked in so we have something to disagree with. All right. I'm being a little quick and dirty here because I kind of already had plans before I decided to do this. Gonna be watching Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I believe. So this is not even the only nostalgia trip I have planned for this evening. Okay, and then the eyes are pretty much the same blue. Okay, the face looks a little bit messed up, I'll admit. It does not look quite right at the moment, but we're going to fix that later. Right now, we're just throwing in our base colors, we're getting an idea where we're going. Oh, that's like way too red. Let me try that again. Okay. Some blushes. And then for the white, we're going to go to a kind of cool, desaturated blue. Go a little bit darker than that. And again, we're just giving ourselves some space to do highlights and stuff later if we want to. Okay, and then looks like you can see this arm. Okay. And then we'll probably have to redraw this stuff later once we kind of get things laid in better. Okay. So we got it laid out. I'm gonna go ahead and shift my sketch a little bit, kind of into purples. Not quite that saturated, but make it a little bit darker and kind of a little purpley. And that's just to add some random color variation. Most of it's going to get painted out anyway, but if we kind of leave any remnants, we can fix it to where it looks a little bit nicer. Because then we have this kind of built-in shadow color that looks a little bit more natural. Also going to turn the opacity of my brush down a little bit so it's easier to kind of create gradients. Okay, and we also have this really kind of dark blue that we can bring in as kind of like a deep shadow color. Alright, and her mouth is actually open in that picture. So we'll work on that. The mouth shape is kind of all over the place. But we want it to kind of be down, and since we're kind of looking top down, the lower lip will be relatively larger. And we won't be able to really see the nostrils of the nose or anything. And the nose will also appear kind of relatively close to the mouth. So like the features of the face are just kind of pushed down a little bit. So then we're kind of smoothing things out. Okay. So get some of this shadow color going on here. Kind of round things out. Alright, so it looks a little wonky now, but we're going to fix it. We're going to make it work. Going to get some of that deep dark color, kind of add in some heavier shadows. That's a little too heavy, we'll paint those out a little bit. Okay. Some white for some highlights. Okay. She actually has pretty big ears. So we're gonna pop those guys out and kind of bring the bangs down. Grab a brush I can change a little faster. Right. Just gonna make a little dot of white there so I can sample it. That's not quite it. Make a little dot of white there so I can sample it. So she's got kind of shine in her eyes. Alright. So and I'm just gonna add some highlights like that. And I feel like we have a wandering like pupil, so we're gonna select that, and we're just gonna scooch that back into the domain that it should be. Okay. Kind of fill that back in. Oh, we should probably add eyebrows too. Like, people without eyebrows tend to look a little bit off. Okay, just kind of smoothing out eyelids, kind of carving that face shape a little bit. Grabbing our white, adding some reflections. Just kind of smoothing that out. Oh wow. So this sailor suit thing comes up a lot further than I originally had it. Okay. Grab that purple. Man, I really hope my audio is actually like balanced properly, because I've had so much trouble with that lately. Like just sounding like garbage, or not being able to be heard over my music. I don't know. It seems like something's always going wrong in that department. Someone let me know if you can hear me over the music, or kind of how that's going. If you would be so kind to do so. Okay. So. This. Got it covered. There we go. Some shadows there. Get some white. And of course we have to do like the trademark earrings, which appear to be 3 dots with a moon below them. So again, I'm kind of betraying my not a real fan of Sailor Moon-ness a little bit. Let's grab an airbrush. Sorry, I was straying away from anime. The nose is like way too big for an anime face. Trying to tone it down, trying to get this back under control. Okay. Try that again. All right. It's also probably worth noting that I don't really draw anime. So like I have no idea like what my plan was going into this. It was just like let's draw a Sailor Moon because I saw 2 Sailor Moons. That's literally as much thought as I gave this. Like the closest thing to premeditation in this stream is that I went online to find a copy of the original meme to show you all while I'm working. So I'm really hoping it doesn't turn out just like being awful. Like I hope the true Sailor Moon fans will accept me, because I'm trying, you know, kind of hard, a little bit. So, okay. Doing good. Doing good. Making progress. I think we've got an acceptable face for Sailor Moon that looks kind of anime, vaguely Asian. Alright. So now we have to make some kind of choices about how we're going to do the jewelry and the little bits of metal. So I am thinking we're going to try to do a gold finish. And see how that looks out. Or see what that looks like. So I'm just going to I'm going to start with a base color that's a little bit darker. I'm going to kind of turn up the opacity just a little bit. We're going to go a little bit darker than that even. Okay, yeah. So we're going to start with a really kind of dark color. I find whenever you're painting metals, for me at least, it's easier to start dark and then kind of add shine later instead of like trying to start kind of at bright and going from there. Okay, so the moon on her head is kind of a fat moon. It's like a little bit of a chubby moon, so make sure we get that right. And I assume this heart on her choker is also supposed to be gold. Again, making some bold assumptions, having seen maybe half of one episode when I was like 15. Okay. So I've kind of got those blocked in. And now we're going to go kind of oranger and more saturated to kind of do the bulk of them, I guess. And actually need much, much less opaque brush. So, and this is kind of, there we go. Okay. And then we're gonna go very yellow and very light for like some highlights. And the highlights don't necessarily need to be everywhere, just enough to kind of show what's going on here. Okay, and then we're gonna go to full white for some like super highlights. Okay, nailed it. Okay. Grab my regular old hard round brush again. Kind of smooth out some of these edges. Shape things up here and there. Add some depth back here. All right. And from here on out, I think it's pretty smooth sailing. I think we're just going to be kind of rendering things out. I think most of the major decisions have been made. So I think this whole like hair braid is a little bit too close to the rest of the body though. So we're gonna slice this guy off or scooch this guy over to make a little bit more room for that ear. So looks like about there. We'll stretch it a little bit. Boom. Okay, nailed it. And we're just gonna paint bucket in that hole. Save ourselves some time. Color over that. Kind of re-add the sailor stripes. Fix the edges there. reconstruct this ear over here. And I think on our version you would be able to see kind of daylight through this. So set that up real quick. Okay. Kind of get rid of that awkward seam. Put some highlights in the hair, kind of paint out some of our ugly sketch marks. So one of the reasons why we kind of changed our sketch layer to kind of a purple is because it actually makes really good shadows for things like blonde hair. Like the chromatic shift towards purple just kind of like looks good with kind of yellow based colors, just because they're complements. It's not crazy. It's not like secret knowledge that yellow and purple go together. It's pretty well established. Okay. So now I'm trying to just kind of shape the volumes of the hair a little bit more. We're probably going to leave it a little more kind of cartoony since we're kind of pulling from an anime. Oh, I forgot I'm all in one layer, so can't just erase things. It'll just turn white. Okay. And clearly, like, the anchor point of this braid is, like, way off because it's, like, behind her and not from her little pom-pom thing up top, so we need to do some major reconstructive surgery on this guy. And again, I tried to erase when... Okay. Right, so now I'm just kind of moving the eyebrows a little bit to try to get closer to the expression in the original still. Because she looks like tears welling up, I think, is what they're going for. Again, I don't know what's actually happening in this still, so I just have to, like, guess. Just kind of getting a darker brown to kind of go in with some darker highlights, or some darker shadows for the hair. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So we want to kind of keep the bigger eyes and the smaller mouth. But we might want to make that mouth a little bit bigger. Kind of imply some teeth. Gonna go ahead and grab a smudge brush and just kind of smooth out the skin tones on the face. It's really easy to kind of like add too much detail to a face, especially like a teenager, and just make them look ancient. Like every line you add to a face as an artist just makes whatever you're drawing look 5 years older. But if you smooth everything out, it looks pretty youthful. And we're also going to kind of lose this line that goes into her neck a little bit. See how that looks? Blend that back in. Okay, and now I'm just kind of rounding out the face a little bit. Again, kind of trying to make her look more like a teenager. And So it's one of those things that, like, obviously not every teenager looks a certain way or has certain things, but, like, these are just kind of, like, illustrative shorthands that make things kind of read more like as younger or as teenagers. So, I mean, I'm not making any bold statements about how teenagers should look, just kind of ways to make things read more easily as younger. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with kind of going against those standards. You just want to make sure you're kind of like that's important to whatever story you're telling, I guess. Like, if your character is just like goes against type for no reason and it's never addressed, it might just be confusing rather than like helpful. Alright, we're gonna get some slightly more saturated blues in here too. Okay, let's zoom back out a bit. See how things are going. I think it's a little creepy. Okay, making some progress. Doing some quick rhinoplasty here. That might be a little bit too far, so we'll kind of blend some of that out. Okay. Man, this nose is like a quagmire. I'm struggling to get this to work. Okay. And I think I actually made her forehead like a little bit low. So I'm just gonna kind of move that hairline up a little bit. Okay. Add some shadows. Some highlights to the hair. Okay, I think our eyelashes are a little bit ridiculous, but we're gonna go with it. We're gonna call it a stylistic choice and move on. I think we might thin them down a little bit. They are a little bit thick. We're just gonna flip it to see if it's like super messed up. Yep, and it's super messed up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and liquefy this and fix it. I probably should have flipped it earlier. I didn't want to because like the reference image isn't flippable, but I got the feeling that this face is a little bit kind of. Alright. So now we have these woefully neglected ears going on that make very little sense. So we're going to try to add some actual shape to them of some sort. It might be the wrong shape, but at least they will have a shape. Alright. And just kind of rounding out chin a little bit. Kind of adding some of that purple back in to the shadows. So I usually don't kind of paint too much detail into eyes because they tend to be like a huge focal point, and the more details you put into them, like the more of a focal point they are, so they could just kind of like overpower everything. And I know that's kind of like the shtick with anime eyes, is that they are just these unholy giant monsters that take over the entire character design. But I'm not doing that. We need you to know their eyes. We need you to know that they're glowy and wet. We do not need them to be 95% of the character's face. We might add a little bit of white here just to suggest a waterline, but it doesn't need to be super, super strong. And then just kind of adding in some highlights. We'll kind of blend some of them out so it looks more like skin. So my smudge brush has a little bit, it generates a little bit of noise. So it creates a little bit of a texture, and it might be hard for you to see, but you can kind of see a little bit of graininess. And that kind of helps things look a little bit more skin-like. Okay. So I think we've pretty much established the face, so now we're just going to give the rest of the character a little once-over. We're going to actually kind of lighten up parts of the sailor flap here, just so that the dark parts of it will stand out better. So we're basically just kind of creating a different highlight color for it. Okay. Gonna get rid of our blue spot here. Add in a touch of our highlight color over here. Kind of darken things up. Okay, and we're just going to kind of curve these lips around a little bit. Okay. We'll add some little kind of cross shine here and there, just for fun. Might look, it looks fine. We're good at that. We'll keep it. Okay, we're gonna attach this ear to the face. Kind of blend it back out. Add a little reflected light around the edges there. I think this ear would probably actually be in front of that hair. So we're gonna go with that. Maybe get some of this dark eyebrow color to kind of add some harder lines back here. Go kind of blend out this part here. Get rid of all those weird choppy marks. All right. So it looks like we're approaching the end of time. My arbitrary, roughly 1 hour time limit. So let me zoom out a little bit. See if I'm missing anything major. Do not think I am. I think we're good. I think this is it. Okay. So there's kind of a lot of things we could continue to tweak. The hair is pretty rough. If we wanted to, we could kind of work to put a gradient in the background, which would be super simple if we had set it up to where things were on more than one layer, but we didn't. So that would be a lot of work now. I got this arm going down over here too that we've neglected. So. All right. And I think we will call it good there. So let me just zoom in. So there is our finished hashtag Redraw Sailor Moon. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to remember what my outro usually is. Oh yeah, if you want to see more of my work, you can check me out on Anthony at Anthony James Rich Art on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to help support me and streams like this, you can find me over at patreon.com/AnthonyJamesRich. Also, it is still the month of May, so it is hashtag Mermay. So I have a special Mermay offer going on over on Patreon this month. You'll get a cool kind of reverse mermaid, French mermaid print in addition to your standard kind of monthly sticker rewards for the collector level and above. So definitely go check that out. Now's a good time to jump kind of on board that. Thanks for watching. I'm just sorry. I got distracted. I need to fix this hair real quick. Okay, now I'm done. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. Let me know if there are any other horribly popular memes floating around, and maybe I will also do a stream of them. All right. Have a good night.